pleasure to welcome Gabrielle GAUTHEY, Director of Investment and Local Development for la Caisse des Dépôts, on this very stage.
Hi everyone. It's always a pleasure to be here with you in Montpellier. I know we yesterday celebrated the 40th anniversary of IDAT, and I'm not going to try and find out how many years I've been coming and how many years I've been in my various positions as a regulator, manufacturer, and investor supporting this wonderful institute. So thank you very much for François and Jacques for giving us today the honor of speaking. And I like very much the idea of the title of this year's conference, is Investing in Our Digital Future. It's not only because I am the vice president, the executive vice president in charge of investment for the Caisse des Dépôts, which is a 200 years old lady institution, but it's because I'm really convinced, and we are at the Caisse des Dépôts really convinced, that investment is the heart of the matter. It's the sinews of war. And talking about war, and the DigiWorld yearbook has a lot of references to the battles, the DigiWorld battles, today's battlefield. So I thought I would read a little bit of the extract of the Art of the War of Sun Tzu, and illustrate some of my remarks with the wisdom of ancient China. We talked a lot about European players, we talked a lot about the GAFA, but I think, and my friend Olivier Huard, I was told to mention that, yes, China is there. Alain Perfit used to say, quand la Chine s'éveillera, China is really awake, and it gives us a great wake-up call. I'm not going to talk only about Caisse des Dépôts. I will tell you a little bit of how, being entrenched in the French territories, but having a view of what's happening in the outside world, we try and be part of this digital ecosystem and enhance our investment. We help about every year we invest in 7 to 8 billion euro projects. And in 2 or 3 years, we have massively emphasized our investment, and I will tell you where. So, the battlefields. The battlefields, so I thought I would give a credit to this excellent DigiWorld Yearbook 2017 and start from there. It shows a few things. It shows that our sector globally, being the manufacturers, the telcos, and the platforms, increases stably, has been increasing stably for a few years. However, this apparent stability is the result of various movements. First of all, a sort of equilibrium between Europe and the US, a model of growth, slowing down today. It has always been shown as a big model. It's slowing down. The emerging markets and Asia, of course, still very much active, and with China overparting India. And the emerging markets like Africa, especially, close to our industry and our heart, is growing. So, what about Europe? Europe continues to lag behind. Is losing weight globally because it's 2.5% below its GDP in ICT, which means something. And then the second shift is not the geographical shift, it's the shift in the value chain. It has been massively illustrated this morning with the growth of telco revenues facing difficulty to monetize the data explosion, the innovation and the growth mainly coming from the new giants, powerful search engines, leading social networks, but also device manufacturers. Now, where are the battlefields of tomorrow? I thought I would, to illustrate this purpose, come from the hype cycle from Gartner. The Gartner hype cycle shows us that there are 3 emerging technology, megatrends, where the next battle is going to take place, and it's artificial intelligence, transparently immersive experiences, and digital platforms. And so the game is not over in our sector, and it's not over for Europe either. Artificial intelligence is everywhere. Applications are massive. Automatic voice recognition, chatbots, learning search engines, devices to enlighten decisions in all the fields, even in courts, even for lawyers, deep learning. So, and a lot of sectors are trying to harness data and adapt to new situations in order to solve problems that have never, with a magnitude that have never been faced before. Machine learning. Transparently immersive experiences, it's also in a number of sectors. Tourism, we see it a lot in tourism. Real estate, serious gaming, and as an investor in real estate, I can tell you I see it a lot. As an investor in smart cities, I see it a lot. Augmented reality, virtual reality, connected home. And digital platforms, of course, things like, I'm not talking about IoT platforms, of course, but digital twins, investing in smart cities, we look very much at digital twins, blockchain platforms. So I think the next battles will concentrate on those topics. Before I jump to Europe and what we can do, I thought I would consider some strategy examples around the world very quickly and see how they differentiate. The first one is of course, the one we know very well, is the US, and especially the Silicon Valley model. Now, what are the ingredients that explain the incredible phenomenon, the magic winning tripod? Universities, research, developers, and finance, capital risk. Now, and of course also skills, attract. The model of the US, to the contrary of other parts of the world, is to attract the intelligence of the world. It's mainly foreigners, a lot of coming from Asia, being students or lecturers or researchers in the US labs. And in comparison, a great percentage of the youth is not turned to the technical, as our European youth is, to technical topics. Of course, it's also a culture of optimism. No fear to failure. Failure is not a bad thing. It's sometimes an advantage. And the turnover, the wonderful turnover of some giants like Apple is there to illustrate this. And of course, capital risk. Now, to the other extreme, an example that I had the opportunity to observe with admiration from my former position at Alcatel-Lucent, one of the old world, perhaps, manufacturers, was for instance, the rise of Huawei in manufacture. But we can see it's not only on the first layer, infrastructure layer, it's also on platforms. China's the tactic and strategy is totally different. It's first grow at home with a very politically organized system, economically encouraged, with strategic plans, industry plans. I recall reviewing these plans with my teams at Alcatel Schange Bell to sort of see if we were complying with the plan, and then be part of a conquest strategy outside. And they can do this. We see that in the telecom sector. They're doing it now also in the car industry, because of this huge market they have. So there's strong internal markets. So it's incubation in China, then move to emerging markets first, Africa, in parallel to second tier 2 as challenges in mature markets, then start a strategy of price commoditizations, and then grow the quality of the solutions, and finally penetrate tier 1. Now, we've seen this in the manufacturers. Now, the second layer where we see that are the platforms. The China BATX compete with the famous GAFAM. BATX being Baidu, the Chinese Google, Alibaba, the Chinese Amazon, Tencent, the Chinese Facebook, and Xiaomi, the Chinese Apple. And some pirouettes illustrated already the difference in growth, in market cap, in yearly turnover between Google and France Telecom. But I mean, it's impressive. It's today, every year, the market cap is not doubling, but almost. And today, Facebook is 520 versus Tencent 41 in November of this year. Alibaba is 425, when Amazon is 528. Alibaba's yearly revenue, is the size of the Honduras GDP. Another example that was mentioned is, let's switch to other types of successes, digital success, very far from these two giants examples, is the Estonian example. It was mentioned rapidly. It's fascinating. It's another strategy of a small country, and that was named one of the most advanced digital society in the world by Wired Estonians. Estonians are pathfinders, and they started this strategy 2 decades ago. It was not a digitalized society, and now it is one because with the best e-solutions in all sectors, and mobile solutions. Bank transfers, income tax declarations, votes, smart transport, parking, health, police declarations, and everything. Another small country which is fascinating and which I had the pleasure to visit and to see and to help a lot in my past responsibilities is Singapore. Singapore, another model. A strong, enlightened government with strong views on things such as regulation, imposing a market shakeout with a separation of the incumbent, a strong collaboration with the private sector, especially with industry. We all have seen the appetite of Broadcom on Qualcomm, and strong government agencies like the Smart Nation and Digital Government Groups, the Technology Agency, GovTech, and the skill also to attract talent. More than 150 students from abroad. So again, and a trusted regulatory framework attract a lot of investments. 2 last small examples before I switch to Europe. Another strategy. Focus, Israel and Japan. Focus because they're not embracing the whole value chain. Infrastructures in Israel are okay, but they focus on the research, on areas of excellence and specificities, like for Israel, cyber defense, surveillance, security, health. For Japan, robotics, artificial intelligence, big data, Internet of Things, gaming. And the focus on Japan files more than 30% of patents worldwide. So another strategy. Now, what are the common success factors of all these strategies? We can spend hours on other examples that we have carefully looked at, South Korea, Finland, France also. But what is interesting is to see what are the common success factors. And we are, at the Caisse des Dépôts, really focusing on some of them. First of all is the best of breed in infrastructure. I will come back to that. It is the foundation of our digital society. Pragmatic policies with vision, and we should not be mistaken. Vision, strategy is not tactics, and the general interest is far from being the sum of the individual interest of all the players of a nation. So you have to be forward-looking, and haste is one thing, speed is another one. Virtuous ecosystems, of course, funds and equity. I told you, and we're very pleased to see that when the framework is set right, the investment is there. Even when we cried in the past years that there was no investment in the infrastructure, I can tell you the investments are there once the framework is set right, which has not always been the case. And then, of course, education and talents. And then, last but not least, we also have to see the world and hunting packs for this. Now, how are we in Europe? Between this class of giants, on two sides, in China and in the US, between sometimes the market shakeout and the very strong in APAC or China, where they decide drastic solutions, Europe is really looks from the outside like a sort of what we call a generative bazaar, scattered initiatives, a lack of common policy, sorry for the European Commission, a lack of, I have been the vice chair of the European Regulators Group. I can tell you this lack of common vision or difficult, it's not vision, but lack of common tools to have a common implementation. However, there are urgencies here. First of all, yes, the need for investment with the right framework. Second, the shift in the value chain. Solutions evolve rapidly. Alcatel Lucent is no longer there, is now Nokia. We saw the turnover of Apple, Kodak. It's established positions shift quickly. And then we have vibrant issues that we have not mentioned this morning and that are absolutely crucial and need cooperation. Security, cybersecurity, privacy, data, reliability. Now, where does Europe stand there? Is Europe doomed to be the passive consumer of US contents on Asian highways? Are we doomed to see most of the revenue and the added value outside of our borders? No, definitely say no. But what is the opportunity? Again, reading Sun Tzu. First of all, as I told you, have a vision. Have a vision of where each layer, states, Europe, the ITU, United Nations, can play. Not all can play on all the layers. We talked a lot about infrastructure. I'm not going to go back on this. Yes, infrastructure is the first, and especially the passive infrastructure is of utmost position for our, we talk of digital, we talk of growth. Yes, also, passive infrastructure is the most expensive. That's why we are late, because it has not been, the foundation was not set right. Even if it's bound to be, like a lot of the mobile infrastructure with our poles, it's 80% of the cost. It's bound to be a commoditized, mutualized infrastructure. Then it is well-financed, and our country has proven it. But the battle is not there. It's part of our Gallic tribes battle that are fully illustrated in the papers. This is not the right battle. The sense of history is to move to the upper layers. After the passive layer, the active, the intelligence of the network, the cloud, network function virtualization, software-defined networks, the active infrastructure, and the platform. That's where the battle, that's where the game is. That's where the game is, both on a local level and on a global level. But the first layer is of utmost importance. So the service, and what's hope for Europe? What should be done? I told you already, cybersecurity, data protection, tax. Pierre-Louis mentioned, yes, tax, have to be harmonized at European level. Not easy. Easier to, I've been struggling with this topics for years already. It's not easy, but they have to. Sovereignty, yes. And then cross-border investments. I'm very proud to say that the old lady Caisse des Dépôts has just decided a cross-border investment on sovereignty, investing with Quant. Will join, I think, IDAT's institute. Quant in Germany, in Italy, in France, with Caisse des Dépôts. Now, at the same time, Europe, the territories, because the battle is also very local. It's very global, it's also very local, and that's our battlefield, not ignoring the rest of the world. It's very local because of data. which is of great interest to these giants I mentioned, our local data. It's smart mobility, and we are looking at that, and we are investing in smart mobility in the territories in France. Already in 50, you could not believe in which platforms we have already invested, but we are looking at what we can do, that is intelligence, to embrace the most rural and the most the parts, and build something that is immediately looking at the exterior, not only looking at the French territories, not only expanding in France, looking at Africa. Smart energy, smart buildings, smart cities. What is the governance of the local data? Who is thinking of this? It is crucial. The state has built an open data platform. The territories have not. So we're very much thinking with them of what is the next governance regarding data. Then, build on our assets. What are our assets, and what are we investing also in at the Caisse des Dépôts? Young people, training, learning, digital skills. We've just invested in Simplon, which is the coding school. We spend a lot of money on this. We spend a lot of money on investing with universities in some subsidiaries to train our people in these digital skills. French tech, of course, and then, of course, smart city. We have to be creative and bold. I already mentioned the French model that you know of. There was a roundtable on the French model, so-called French model, which is a danger because it has been a success. It's the first layer should, of course, the passive layer should be shared when it is, and regulators now, and I know Europe is okay with me, in most of the geography of a country, you cannot have two passive networks. Regulation has never really clearly said that, because we have always thought that the dogma of infrastructure competition, whether European dogma, active infrastructure competition on top of a common passive layer, both in the fixed and in the mobile. We will come to that, I think. And when it's like that, it's well financed. And we have proven right, because we have created an ecosystem. It's traveling around the world that I saw the French World Bank mentioning the French model. I think a French model. Yes, it's a French model. Promoting this model in Mexico, we built together, the French ecosystem, we built a huge Mexican public initiative, both fixed and mobile, a few billion euros, and they call it the French model, el modelo francés. So this model has proven right, and it has already rolled out on over half of the population. It's 8 million people that have access through these 4 powerful, well-financed wholesale operators. And then be united. We mentioned it already. We must hunt in pack. That's why we have decided to create an investment fund for Africa, especially to help French business, and our digital sector is one of them, and our French model to expand in Africa. Have common rules, build champions. Smart cities is another, with Viva Police, is another big initiative that's where we have things to tell the world, because we have good architects, good urban planners. Now,
and
I'm finished.
Gabrielle,
I'm finished.
We really need to wrap this
I'm
up,
over the time.
because time
Okay.
flies by on the stage.
So, in a nutshell, I'm finished. We must think. Do not be mistaken. Tactics, even in the public vision, is not strategy. You need time. But the game is not over. We at the Caisse are the patient, stable, we also will be there, I hope, in 200 years, organizer of sustainable business model, especially in the digital sector, not only in infrastructures, but also in smart cities, in platforms. We are both looking at what's being built around the world, but we are also entrenched in the territories. You can count on us as a long-term, not only investor, we are organizers and builders of sustainable business models, as we have done in the infrastructure. We will be there in the platforms, and we will be the anchor tenants and help our country, our people, our economy, and our territories win some of the future battles that I mentioned. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Gabrielle. So,